On to another Pinterest-inspired project. This series is all about taking inspiration from Pinterest and making it your own. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. You really seem to enjoy this series, which is great because I do as well. And it's learning by doing. It's so much fun. You can find the playlist linked below in the description box, by the way. So what you see here is my Pinterest home screen. I don't use this a lot, to be honest, but it's great for finding inspiration. So one of my boards is this Pinterest inspired one, and I currently have only 13 pins. This is the one I've done in my last Pinterest inspired video. You can find that in the playlist. And I have a few others here that look very promising. This one I've also done in a Pinterest inspired video. That was a journal cover. And I think that's all I've done from the ones I've pinned here. And today I thought I would do this one, which is called With Brave Wings by Tattered Nest Designs. And this one even has a blog attached to it, which tells us exactly how it was made. So let's go to that blog. So it's tatterednestdesigns.com. I will link this post for you below so that you can read through it on your own in more detail. You can see here she has made 2 cards actually, but I'm only interested in that top left one. That's the one I want to make. And she used pretty much all Tim Holtz products and alcohol inks, all of which I don't have, which makes it all the more fun to try to recreate something that somehow resembles this and that has been inspired by this. Because if I had exactly the same things, obviously it still wouldn't look the same, but it would look a lot closer like what she has done here. So this is all still the other one. So here's the card that she made. This is the one I will take inspiration from, and we'll do this step by step and substitute whatever we don't have. So Stacy used this kind of card in her post, and I just happened to have one of these. If I wouldn't have one, I would search for some cardboard and then just make a card of my own. I'm not a huge fan of these because they are quite flimsy, but I'm happy to have a project for this. And Stacy's card is not square. I still need to decide whether I am going to keep this as a square or whether I will cut it down into a smaller card. Before I start worrying about what kind of background I'm going to use, I want to find a bird which is going to be my focal point. So I don't have the die cut that Stacy has, so I need to find a substitute. I am lucky because I have beautiful vintage books. This one I got at my Goodwill store, and it has a lot of beautiful bird images. Just absolutely stunning. I will show you the ISBN number in case you want to try to find this online somewhere. So ISBN 37684217224. And I found this image in there, and I think a really cute option would be this little bird right here. So getting back to my bird, I have already fussy cut the outside, but I also want to get rid of this little white part in the middle, so I'm just using a knife to do that. Okay, so my image is good to go. If I'm not so lucky to have such beautiful vintage images in books, I would go to the Biodiversity Heritage site on Flickr, which I will link for you below in the description box as well. And I would type up here in the search field on the top right, bird illustration. And then very importantly, on the left side here, there's a click down menu for licenses, and I would choose no known copyright restrictions. So then you see all these beautiful, beautiful images. So let's find one that we could use for this particular project. How about this one right here? I think I would take this little bird here on the bottom. And I think when we print it out, it should have the right size. And if it doesn't, I can always adjust the size on my printer. So on the bottom right, there's this little arrow to download this picture. And then we can choose the size. I always like going with the original. And then it downloads that to my computer. I can then open that. And here's the image. And now I can just print it. For the background, Stacy used her beautifully handmade alcohol ink papers where she used a stamping resist technique. So instead, I'm going to go through my stash and see what I could use instead. So I picked out a few options of papers. Some of these are from smaller design paper pads. This is just from a magazine. This here is from a book from my Goodwill. So let's see what will work. I love the drama and grunginess of this one. It would be a very strong contrast to the bird. Of course, we will have something in between as well. We have this whole tag element still on top here. I'm not sure where I got this one from. I've had it forever. Maybe not so good. The writing here is very strong and dominant. Of course, we could put gesso on it, but I think I have some other options. This is from a design paper pad. That's cute. Keep that in mind. From another design paper pad. This is very harmonious in my eyes. Similar tones with this one here. And then there's this pattern from a magazine. Oh, this is nice too, but not for that project. So this would be a completely different look with this gold here, but I thought it would work because of the beautiful gold here on his chest. So all of these have very different looks to them. I think they all would work. But the one I'm going to choose is this one. And the reason for that is that when we look at Stacy's image, you see that the alcohol inks have similar tones in them to the alcohol inks she used on the bird silhouette. So I think either of these two would have been good, but I like this one more because there is more interest in the background. So I'm going to cut this down to fit my card, and I think I will stick with the square size. And then Stacy sewed it on with black thread with a messy stitch around the edge. And instead of a black thread, I'm going to use a chocolate brown thread. So I'm going to glue that onto my card base. Next, Tracy cut out a tag shape from a vellum scrap of paper using the Sizzig Tag Collection die set, and then stamped a handwritten background using embossing ink and embossed it using gold embossing powder. I'm just going to cut my tag by hand. I do have a piece of vellum here. If I didn't have any vellum, I would just use any other kind of paper. It doesn't have to be vellum. So I need to see what size makes sense for this card and for my bird. We do want to leave some space on top for the eyelet, and we also need some space on the bottom. So the tag needs to be fairly big, probably bigger than what Stacy has. But we'll just see what we can do with what we have. So I'll cut it here. The branch could come off the side, so maybe like that. And I'll cut the two top corners off by hand. Flipping it over. Okay, so there's our vellum tag. That will approximately go somewhere this, I guess. And already we see that our card has a completely different vibe to Stacy's card. So then we need some scripty stamp. I have this one here from Crafty Individuals. It's the number CI 214. Looks like this. I will link it below for you. I'm going to emboss the tag with my clear embossing stamp pad. If I didn't have anything to emboss with, then I would just stamp this with ink. We're not going to see this middle part, so I'm not really worried about that part. Yep, I can see that. That looks really good. Then I'm going to add my gold embossing powder. Mine is from Hero Arts. I'm not very picky with cleaning my stamps, but when I do use the embossing stamp pad, I do make sure to wipe it off afterwards. And I'm just using a baby wipe for that. Now I can melt the embossing powder with my heat gun. This is absolutely gorgeous. So next we need to distress the edges of this vellum tag. Stacy uses a distressing tool like this. If you don't have one, you just use the edge of your scissors. It does exactly the same thing. Don't worry if it tears a little. Then she rubbed the rough edge using the Statue Foundry wax and heated it up with the embossing gun to bring out the shine. So I don't have that wax, but I do have this Inca Gold, which is a fast-drying metal gloss paint. Alternatively, I would just use acrylic paint or maybe even watercolor, especially if it's out of a tube, I'm guessing would work. I'm going to try using a paintbrush, which I don't usually do, but this is super dry already. And I have very long fingernails at the moment, so I don't think I can do it with my fingers. I'm not sure the paintbrush is the best solution, but we'll see. It's very, very faint. I think I want a thicker coat. I added some water. Hopefully this will be better. Yep, that works a lot better. So I'm going to go all around the tag. And I don't need to heat this up because this is a high gloss paint. Next, Stacy adds a piece of lace. So I'm going to go through my lace jar and see what will work with my card and tag. Do I want white or do I want off-white? Stacy uses what looks like an off-white, but we can do whatever we want. So that will go on, that will go behind the tag. Not sure that's the best option. Let's see what an off-white one might look like. For example, this is actually beige, but we can try that too. That's not very visible. This here is a combination of white and off-white. I really like this one actually. Oh, I think I really like this one. And I love how we can see it through, but actually we won't because we'll be adding more things on top here. So where's our little bird? He's here. So he would be here, approximately like this. I really like that. So let's cut that piece off. And then on the front of the tag, she added a scrap of Ideology backdrop paper. So instead of that, I'm going to use a scrap of a vintage music sheet. And then we're going to sew these pieces onto the tag. But first I'm going to distress the edges of this music paper using Vintage Photo. And it's interesting because Stacy says she stitched both of these pieces around the edge randomly to the front of the tag. But I can clearly see in this image that the paper is in front of the tag and the lace is peeking out underneath, because you can see the edge of the tag peeking out over the lace. Do you see what I mean? That's weird. Anyway, I'm going to put one in the front, one in the back. So I again stitched around it twice with a messy stitch. Then it says, I cut a piece of scrap using the paper washer from the tag set and set it into the tag using an eyelet and setter. I have some round reinforcements that I have cut out of some scrap paper. I used this punch, I think it's from We Are Memory Keepers. Doesn't say it on it, but I think the color suggests it. I'm not super happy with this punch, so I'm not going to recommend it. I'm sure there are others that work better. By the way, this beautiful box was made by Louise Heinzel, my dear friend. I love it so much. And in here, I happen to have gold ones, which is just perfect for our project. Then I will take a golden eyelet. And if I don't have eyelets, I don't use eyelets. Then I will just punch a hole in here. So let's punch a hole. I want to make sure I'm beneath the stitching. I don't want to punch my hole through the stitching. Then we'll add this hole reinforcement on top. And finally, the eyelet. I don't think I've ever done that before. I think it was always either the hole reinforcer or the eyelet, but why not just do both? And then let's set that. Perfect. What do we do next? So Stacy gathered a few pieces from the Snippets Curator ephemera, don't have that, rubbed them with walnut stained distress ink, then began arranging the layout of the tag and added the bird. Okay, so we need a few pieces of ephemera, or maybe we can stamp something. I have this gorgeous pouch in which I collect clothes labels and tags. So maybe there's something fun that we could use from in here. I like this one. Denim CO certified. I don't have any denim on here, but maybe we could change that. Don't think I want anything red. I'm 100% organic. That would be funny actually to put here. Not sure about the color, but that would be a fun element. This is a beautiful jeans label, but it's too big and I don't want to cut this up. It's very thick as well. I do like this round thing here because Stacy has this round element which says Class C number 10 on it. Not sure I would like the red. I mean, the red would be okay if I don't use the 100% organic. Maybe I don't use that because both is just too many different colors for me. Okay, I'll keep both of these out. Does anyone else collect clothes tags or is that just me? No, I'm sure you do too, right? I have this partially already cut up girls jeans jacket, which I bought at the flea market, I think for €3. And I think it might be fun to use one of these pieces here with the buttonholes. And then I could use that in combination with the Denim Company Certified. That might be really fun. So let's cut this piece off. I think it's too big. We need to cut this down more. Like that. It is very bulky, but I can't really take it apart. How about something like this? We can still see the Denim Company here. We can read half of Denim Certified. We do see the buttonhole here. I kind of like that composition. I'm going to cut this out and see what it looks like if we add this. I actually like it because again it plays on the denim, slim fit, fine garments, and the red is actually okay. I would usually never take blue and red in the same project, but I think it's okay. I think I want to tear this edge, and I think I need to distress and tear this up a little bit. This is too new looking. Okay, then I'm going to ink up those edges. I'm going to use the walnut stain again, since I've already used that on the music paper. That looks so much better now. And Stacy also added a beautiful vintage golden button. I don't think I can fit one anywhere here. I don't want to add it to the denim because that is super bulky already. The only option to add a button in my eyes would be, I'm not sure. I don't think I would like it down here from the placement. Yeah, here. No. I think I'm going to skip that button. I don't think it works with what I have here. Then Stacy cut a few flowers and leaves from the Funky Nature Thinlet set out of scraps of the alcohol inked Yupo paper. Then arranged them behind the tag and added some scraps of thread and added the tag to the front of the card base with foam tape. So again, I don't have those exact flowers. I do, however, have this set here, which has the number 661190. I will do my best to link this set in the description box below. If I did not have any kind of dies, and if I have any floral stamps, I would just stamp them and cut them out. Or again, look for book images or magazine images that might work. They don't have to be flowers. It could be anything. Or you just don't add anything else. In my eyes, this would be enough as it is. But I did find these two that I already had in my stash, so I'm happy to have a project to use them on. This is wallpaper, and this is, I think, watercolor paper on which I just had fun with some inks and some splattering, and I think they go together really well. And I think they go really well with our card here. So let's see if we can just add these. This way I would unfortunately be totally covering our denim label. I mean, we can still read denim. What would it look like if we add them behind that label? It would work, but I do like them better in front. This would be okay, but again, no, I really do think I like them more in front. Definitely better in front. So this way I can still read the denim company here, which I'm okay with. I will trim these down, and then we need to bunch up some thread. To keep it harmonious, I'm going to use the same chocolate brown thread that I used for my stitching. So first of all, we want to add some where the flowers come out. So underneath here, I just want to make sure that I don't lose this denim here. I really want to see that. And then we have some more up here. Actually, on my card, I don't want it there because mine is a lot closer to this corner. So I think in my case, it would look better if they are maybe here. Because Stacy's card is taller than mine, it looks completely different. Let's see, do we need it there? I'm not sure that we need it. I'm just going to leave it right there. And even though Stacy then writes that the card was completed and she just glued everything on top of that card base, I see some elements that she did not mention in her blog. One is I see some golden thread underneath her elements, which is absolutely gorgeous. I don't think I have anything like that. And I also see a bead above the left wing of the bird. Do you see that on top of that flower? She does not mention that. Tricky Stacy. I really like that look of the golden thread, and I searched my materials far and wide, but I just don't have one. I even looked through my Christmas box of things, but no gold thread. What I could try instead is this wire, which is a reddish gold, which is totally not the same, but actually I think that might look really cool because it is different. So I'm just going to try to loop this around. I'll just twist this around so that it stays together. I'll make another loop here. So it's kind of this weird shape here. Kind of looks like a lopsided dragonfly. And I'm going to attempt to put this underneath. I want this more pointy. What do we think? You can't see it, so oops, no. At least those parts stayed together, sort of. Oh, slippery little thing. I'm not convinced that this wire is what I want. Yeah, I'm not gonna do the wire. I thought it was a cool idea, but it doesn't look good the way it's shaped. I'm just going to leave that out. I'm going to glue all the pieces down. I'm going to use textile glue for the denim and the lace parts. I'm going to use art glitter glue for all the paper bits. And I'm going to use some foam tape for the birdie because he definitely needs some dimension to compensate for the thickness of the denim. I'm going to start gluing this from the top down because I just think that's easier because then I see where everything needs to go. So I'm going to start by gluing the birdie onto the denim. Then I'll also add the textile glue underneath this piece here, which is also fabric. Then I'll cut some foam pieces. And now I can glue the whole thing onto the card. I'm going to snip this off, the stem of the flower. I do really like the idea of the bead. Stacy only has one large bead, but instead I'm going to put some small seed beads right here where the bunched thread also is coming out of. And I have these beautiful bronze ones, which I think will look very nice here. So I'll add some art glitter glue, which will of course turn transparent. And I'll also add some here on the flower middle and maybe just a couple here on the side. And then I'm also going to add some Forest Moss Distress Oxide splatters. I'm just going to protect his eye. It's a few hours later. I let everything air dry. I added some more black splatters because the green ones weren't contrast enough. And this is the time where we don't compare our cards and we just look at our own and we see if it needs anything else. But in my case, I am super happy with it. And I've made a card that I would not have made without the Pinterest inspiration. The only thing left to do, which I almost forgot, is to tie this packaging tape around the card. Looks like Stacy wrapped it around twice. And then we'll tie a bow here. And it looks like she unraveled the ends. I am very happy with it. Thank you, Stacy, and thank you for hanging out with me. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.